So I'll jump right into it. Continue. There you go. All right. So I'll jump right into it, and certainly brief background on the agency I work for, as well as myself. And certainly if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. So to begin, Credit Counseling Society is a nonprofit charity. We do span the country. We start in Vancouver. Most of our operation is there. That's where our head office is. And then we span across the country to Ottawa, which is where I am. And we do credit counseling. So anyone that's in need, basically can't really handle their finances, don't know what their options are. You can call us. We can sit down, go over all your options with you, and then figure out what the best scenario is for you. We do budget counseling. So even though we're doing a session like this on budgeting, you can call us, talk to one of our counselors, and actually do a budget for yourself. So one-on-one with one of our counselors, and that's actually completely free to anyone that wants to take advantage of it. So you'd basically call us, set up the appointment, and do it all virtually. And then we do the education piece, which is myself, and I'm out certainly across the country doing education pieces like this. Background on myself, my name is Gary. I've been doing this for 7 years. Before this, I've been in banking for quite a while, 15 years now. And I was a branch manager of a bank here in Ottawa. And then before that, I was actually a high school teacher in Montreal. So I'm back to educating, and certainly that's what I enjoy. So without further ado, the Making Sense of Money Budgeting 101, certainly we're going to be talking about some of the post-COVID stuff. It's almost ironic that it just happened to fall on the day where we have a stay-at-home order now in Ontario, but hey, why not, let's imagine and let's try thinking of what the future might hold. So our mission at CCS is we help, we educate, we give hope. Now, here are some of the top reasons we see for financial trouble. So unemployment, underemployment, excessive use of credit, basically using credit for everyday use, injury or illness, no budget, lack of financial education. And with that education piece, we're not born with the financial literacy. We do learn a little bit in school, certainly not as much as I'd like to see. And then if we do learn anything from our parents, again, it's limited, but at least we are learning something. Okay. Some more financial trouble, separation, divorce, failed business, as well as high housing cost. Now, something to add up on there that's not up on the screen is trying to eliminate the impulse buys. Now, if anyone is like myself, I do throw some personal stuff in as I'm doing this presentation. Being at home, trying to figure out what to do. I have been ordering on Amazon for the past year a lot, absolutely. And one thing that I've come to realize is it's so easy to just go online on my phone, whatever, find something that I want or need. And because my credit card is already saved on the Amazon site, it's basically just place the order, boom, done. And it's already telling me when it's going to arrive. Now, something to eliminate some of those impulse buys is actually remove the credit card info every time so that you force yourself to enter it. By doing that, you're eliminating that impulse buy, and you're hopefully doesn't make it as easy to purchase things. Okay. So what we'll take a look at today, we'll look at the budgeting, we'll look at values, money values and goals, expense tracking, irregular, emergency, and saving expenses, as well as a little bit into the paycheck planning. Hopefully by the end of it, you'll be able to reflect on your money values and goals, understand how tracking will help you manage your irregular and emergency expenses, as well as create and organize your savings. Now, what does being better with our money mean? It really can mean, and what we found is reducing the stress, better sleep, control of my money, as well as hope. Now, if you could describe the word budget with one word, what would you use? You could either unmute yourself or certainly put it in the chat box. But if you can describe the word budget with one word, what would you use?
I would say saving.
Saving, yeah, absolutely. Planning, you guys are already ahead of the game. Holy smokes. I usually have to tell people not to swear at me when I come up with this because a lot of times I usually get negative answers. But right off the bat, you guys are already ahead of the game, and I like that. I appreciate that. Um, somebody else is reduce cost. Hey, you and me both. I'm still trying to figure that one out a little bit because of food costs going up, but we'll certainly talk about a lot of that stuff. So with the budget, we can also, instead of calling it a budget, we could call it a written spending plan. So really writing stuff down, having that plan of where we're actually going to spend our money, spending now and saving to spend later. And one of the big things, it's based on our own choices and priorities. So each one of us is going to have something different. Now, all our choices and priorities are going to be different as well. So that means our budget will be different. What the budget will include is our net take-home pay. Now, you might hear from time to time gross pay or net pay. Certainly, it's net pay after taxes is what they mean there, okay? Your monthly living expenses, as well as the regular expenses, emergencies, and savings. Now, I just want to show you, I already pulled it up, ready to go for you guys, just to show you. On our website, mymoneycoach.ca, we actually have a intelligent student budget. Now, this budget you can download free of charge. It's an Excel spreadsheet. You can go to our website, download it, and I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see this is what the template looks like. It's an Excel spreadsheet. You put in your numbers and it'll calculate everything for you down at the end. So you can see, even if you get, let's say, student, like a student loan or something, or you have a line of credit, let's say you get a student loan and it is a lump sum. A lot of times it's a lump sum, let's say it's $6,000. You know, it kind of tells you, how are you going to do this? You need to make it last for 4 months. Well, that technically means I only have $1,500 a month that I can spend using that $6,000 that I did get. Okay. So you could totally see, you know, we do go in depth, you know, how much is your tuition? How much are the fees and books, damage deposit, etc. I hope I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to hear that you like this. It really, like, not only do we have one for students, but we have like a regular one as well. So certainly after your education and after you're done school, we actually have the other budgeting tool where, you know, it's jobs, and, you know, if you have children, it includes all of these things too. So certainly look at that one as well. It's all on our website. The other thing too is it kind of tells us, you know, depending on the amount that we put in, like I said, the $6,000. The big thing with this is it calculates for us, according to the amount that we put in, how much we should be spending in each of these categories. Now, according to StatsCan, we shouldn't be exceeding more than 35% of our budget on housing. So you could see, you shouldn't, technically, according to what we put in, we shouldn't be spending more than $525 a month on housing. Okay. And again, because it's an Excel spreadsheet, you could certainly add expenses in, you know, whatever makes sense for you. If there's utilities, internet, cell phone, those kinds of things, food and groceries. I'm just going to scroll down here. It's under the personal expenses that really puts things into perspective, how in depth we try to go, you know, tuition, book supplies, you know, possibly alcohol, Netflix, any type of recreation. But I always like to point out the laundry and dry cleaning. If you have to pay for your own laundry, if you're in an apartment building and you, let's say, have to pay for the wash and the dry, how much is that? How much am I paying on a regular basis? Okay. And then down at the bottom, obviously, it'll show you your totals, and if it needs a job or not. On the side over here, just so that you see it, we have not only the pie graph that will be color coordinated depending on the sections and what you put in, but it also up here has some bar charts. And it kind of tells us, so the light green is what the percentage is. and what we should do our best not to exceed. And then the darker green line is the number that we actually put in. So it'll move depending on what we actually put in. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. So that's basically the budgeting tool. Highly recommend it. Try it out. The other thing too with a budget, you have to be patient with it. But one of the key things is trying that budget that I just showed you might not work for you. So, and that's okay. That means you just have to go and try another one until you find the one that really works for you and that really, gets you to actually want a budget. Okay. Now, looking at money values, I asked before what the word budget means to you, one word. If you could describe money with one word, what would that one word be?
Currency.
I like it. I thought you were going to say monopoly money. Technically, our money is. Currency, something that comes and goes. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes it goes a lot faster than when it comes in. So that's the thing with money values. We really want to try to make get an idea of it working for us as well. So some of those common answers were safety, security, freedom, choices, independence, ability to give back, possibly to charity, comfort, as well as adventure. But as I was saying, we want money to work for us. So this is where certainly the post-COVID things are going to come in. Okay, we're going to want to travel. People are going to want to get out of the country, want to get away, want to do something. So this is where, again, setting your goals, trying to figure out what am I going to do. You might not be able to travel outside Canada, so why not look at a staycation? Okay, certainly rent a cottage with a bunch of people or something when we're allowed, or do something like that. But again, we're going to come up with these goals. We're going to figure out, is it a short-term goal? Is it a medium-term goal or a long-term goal? Now, short-term, 6 to 12 months might be maybe $500 to $1,000. Medium-term, 3 to 5 years, $3,000 to $5,000, let's say. And then long-term, you're looking at 10, 15 plus years. That one, the long-term one should be, down payment, let's say for a house, or even later on, like retirement. Okay. The big thing, we want to break those goals down into that realistic amount. And I'll show you an example in just a second. With these goals, we want to be smart. We want to set smart goals, be specific, know exactly what we're going to spend our money on. Make sure it's measurable and achievable. How much are we actually going to spend? Make sure it's relevant and timed. Stick to the time frame. If you've set your goal that you want to achieve it within a year, stick to it. Do your best not to go over that time frame. Now, here's the example. I can send this out to you, Nathan, if anything, and if you're able to forward it off to everyone that's on the call, by all means, they can have the slides, or you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat and I'll send it out to you as well. Okay. So that is something to keep in mind. Now with this, the SMART goals, we're going to come up. Here's just an example. So my goal is to do a staycation. So I'm going to stay close to home, but I'm going to actually get out of my current location, I guess you could say. I want to achieve this within 1 year. So I'm going to give myself a year to save the money. And the total cost of my goal is $1,000. Now you might be looking at it and saying, okay, $1,000, Gary, that's a lot of money. So let's try to figure this one out. How do I take that $1,000 and make it smaller? Now, one thing that you could do, most of us are paid biweekly in Canada. So not always, but most are paid biweekly. And if we want to look at figuring out what the amount will be biweekly, it's $39 every 2 weeks to put aside to achieve that $1,000 goal. So basically $20 a week, we're going to take and put it aside, either in a jar, in a bank account, whatever. And we're going to be able to save that for an entire year and have that $1,000 so that we can actually have that staycation. Okay. So you can see by taking the big number and trying to make it as small as possible, the smaller number becomes so much more attainable. It seems like it's attainable. You can even go further and say, okay, 20 bucks a week. How many times do you buy lunch in a week? You know, most of us, some of us might say once, twice a week. You spend roughly $10 each time. Okay, well, if I can eliminate maybe one lunch, I'm already halfway there. Okay. Any questions, comments on that? Okay. Now trying to set up these goals. Here's some tips. Set clear goals. Life happens. They might change. Pay yourself first. Make saving automatic. Use separate bank accounts for each goal, but certainly watch the fees. Now, there seems to be a huge misconception that you can only have one or two bank accounts. Absolutely not. You can have multiple bank accounts all within the same bank, or if you want different banks, that's fine as well. Suggestion is to have, let's say, one checking account and then have multiple savings accounts. And there is a graphic later on that I'll show you. But by doing that, you're basically, you know, being able to distribute the money into these other accounts a little easier. The other thing, if you do online banking, if you didn't know this, you can actually nickname all of your bank accounts. So instead of it saying checking or savings with a number next to it, you can actually nickname it staycation. Or let's say you owe taxes. You know, in the past, I remember there was times where I owed taxes. So I had a tax account. So it was my tax account. Okay, so look at those as an option when you do your online banking. Now, when it comes to expense tracking, do you know where your money went last month? Some things to consider when it comes to tracking. It really does make the budget work. It will tell us the truth. It shows us our habits. It shows us where we can make those changes, and it gets us in control. Now, until I started working here, I had never tracked my expenses. Once I did, I found out one of my habits, I buy coffee once a day during the week. So the 5-day week. So I go and buy a coffee at McDonald's every day, spend $2, $10 a week, $40 a month. I absolutely know that I can make my coffee at home. I know it's cheaper to make it at home, but it's just never as good. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's just never as good. It's almost like it's not hot enough, or it's too hot, or the taste. So anyways, I just buy my coffee. But what I've done is, because I've identified that as a habit and I don't want to change it, I've now put it in my budget. So now that $2, the $10 a week, is part of my budget. So when I'm buying my coffee, I know I have the money. I know it's in my budget. No problem. If you can't afford 5 days of coffee, reduce it to 3. And then the other 2 days, you have to make your coffee at home. Okay. So consider that when it comes to the expense tracking. Ways to make it work: pen and paper. We have booklets available, but we also have those sheets online that you can take advantage of. Use a spreadsheet like Excel, envelope method, smartphone app, or start with a few categories. Now, what we mean here is, let's say you leave this session and you say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to start tracking all my money, find out where all my money is going because I'm really curious. But if you start doing that and you track everything, in 2 weeks, you're going to remember my name and you might swear at my name. And I don't want that to happen, because the unfortunate thing is, usually after about 2 weeks, you get frustrated and fed up and you don't want to do it because there's just too much to do. So the suggestion is start with at least one category. And the one that we suggest is usually food or groceries, to get a sense of how much you're actually spending on that. Once you have that under control, then you start adding more categories. Another one to add that's pretty good is the under $20 amounts that we spend our money on. So considering, lunches, gum, if you smoke, all those type of things, how much do they cost? Because they're usually under $20 and we don't really think twice about spending that money. Okay. Another thing with the envelope method. So just to give you a quick example, I attended a seminar. It was a behavioral psychologist from University of Toronto. And one thing that he suggested with the envelopes is, let's say, for example, I want to take my family, let's say, to Disney. I have the money, but we're not going yet. So I take the money and put it in an envelope. Now with this envelope, what I do is I put pictures of my children, I put pictures of Disney all over the envelope. Let's say an emergency happens, something happened, and I need the money. Well, your first instinct would be like, okay, well, I have the money. I'll figure out how to get the rest of the money for Disney, but I need it right now for the emergency. So you go to the envelope. But in order to take the money out, you have to actually rip through, let's say, your child's face to get the money. Now, it sounds like totally bizarre, but it actually, that's the psychology, the behavioral psychology coming in, where it's like, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to rip through my kid's face. So I'm going to find other means to pay for that emergency. Okay, so that might be something else as well with an envelope method. Okay, any questions, comments? Okay. Now, when it comes to irregular expenses, this is something that happens. They happen fairly often. They might not happen every month. Okay. So what we've done is we've broken it down into 4 categories: housing, living, work, and personal. Under the housing, things that might apply to you is household items, cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, hand sanitizer, all that kind of stuff. Under the living part, dentist, you might have coverage either with your parents or for yourself, but it's not fully covered. Okay. Pet bills, if you have a pet. But under work, this might apply to you, special clothing. And what we mean here is, some jobs you need steel toe boots. But if you work in a job like a retail store and you have to buy the clothing of the store that you work at, typically they don't give that away for free and you have to purchase it, usually at a discount, but it's still money out of your pocket that you didn't plan on. Okay. And then under personal, again, holidays, birthdays, clothing, shoes, that kind of stuff. So you could see the green amounts. This is a yearly amount. So the example is $3,000. Once we have that money and we have that amount in mind for irregular expenses, you can open up a new bank account, call it irregular expenses, add up the cost of having that amount divided by 12 or 26, again, trying to make that big amount smaller. So here's that example. You take the 3,000. I'm going to try making it smaller monthly. That's $250 a month, or biweekly, $116 that I need to put aside to achieve that $3,000. Okay. Now, after the irregular expenses, we look at emergencies, and emergencies are very, very similar to the regular expense. Emergencies happen. We just don't know when, what, or how much they will cost. And an emergency fund will turn most of those emergencies into an inconvenience, hopefully. Short-term, $1,000, long-term, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. It's a lot of money. When it comes to saving, when it comes to budgeting, we have to be patient. Okay, just be patient with it, and be able to have communication with whoever you owe money to as well. Okay. Now, when it comes to savings, something to keep in mind with savings is, in some ways, to try keeping it safe for yourself, remove the ATM debit access to your savings account. So when you go to pay with your debit card, you don't have that savings option pop up. Have a joint account. This is a joint account with someone that you trust. And in order for you both to take, or for whoever's account it is, for you to take the money out, you both have to be present and sign to take the money out. Okay. Automatic transfers, go into the branch to withdraw cash. Sandwich bag method, which is like a jar, just make sure it's covered. You don't want to see the money. And then top up or round up option. Now, what we mean here is, let's say you have a savings account, you have money in there, you get a little bit of interest. Let's say it's 10 cents. And why not top it up? Add 90 cents to it so that you're topping up to the nearest dollar. And if you do that on a monthly basis, every little bit will count. Another thing that's not up there is a tax-free savings account. As long as you're over 18, you can open up a tax-free savings account. There's no minimum to put in, but there is a maximum. And the banks will tell you that when you go and set up an account for that. Okay. Another way to save money, 40-40-20 rule. Let's say you receive a lump sum of money, like right now, tax season. If you get a lump sum of money, some goes into savings. 40% towards debt, and then 20% for guilt-free fun. It's your money, enjoy it. Now, with these three categories, the percentages can change, but certainly the fun part should be the smallest. Okay. Another way, 52-week money challenge. You start week one. A lot of us would tend to start week one, January, like the first week of January, let's say. Week one, $1. Week two, $2. Week three, $3, etc., all the way to 52. At the end of the year, you'll have $1,378 saved up. Now, I do this myself. I love the holiday season. December for me is a joyous time. I am one of those ones that is counting down to Christmas. I know I'm you might be rolling your eyes at me right now, but that's okay. But I love the holiday season. So what I do is, because I'm eager to start putting money away after the holiday season, like come January, instead of starting week one with $1, I start week one with 52. Then week two with 51, week three with 50. So I do the reverse, still end up with the same amount of money, but I'm eager to put the money in at the beginning of the year. So I get rid of those bigger amounts right off the bat. Okay. To make the budget even easier, $25 every week will give you $1,300 at the end of the year. Okay, so even just easier with your bank account, 25 bucks a week goes into a savings account. At the end of the year, you have $1,300 saved up. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, another thing, just to let you guys know. So let's say, certainly, once COVID and all that is done, let's say you receive CERB. We tend to be asked that question a lot. So let's say you receive CERB, and now that you're filing your taxes, they basically said, oh, no, you didn't qualify, and now you owe that money back. Okay. Now, we're not here to say whether it was right or wrong, but one suggestion that we can give is call the government, talk to them, have that open communication, talk to them. They're a lot more willing to work with someone that is communicating with them than just avoiding them. Okay, so do that. Keep the communication lines open. Okay. Now, when it comes to that paycheck plan, something to consider when it comes to this is there are three kinds of expenses. You have your fixed expenses, same date, same amount every month. You have your cash or variable expenses. They happen often, they happen every month, but the amounts and the dates might change. And then last but not least would be the savings part. Now, here is two graphics just to show you. Fixed expenses, same date, same amount every month, like rent, electricity, cell phone, that kind of stuff. Cash or variable, they happen every month, but the amounts and the dates might change. Groceries, gas, entertainment, those kinds of things. And then last but not least be the savings. Now, I talked before about having multiple bank accounts. If you look on the screen right now, the purple boxes that you see in front of you, all those purple boxes are bank accounts. Okay, so your income arrives into your fixed expense or checking account. You pay your bills. And then whatever money is left over, you're now going to disperse amongst your 5 other bank accounts. Okay, so you could see here up on the screen, if this was me, I'd have 6 bank accounts, 1 checking account, and then 5 savings accounts, and then I could nickname them whatever works for me in my situation. Okay, any questions on that? Some ways to cut back on credit: use the Visa debit or debit MasterCard option. So again, you might not have a credit card, but you can still make online purchases using your debit card. Prepaid credit card. So this is the ones that you get at the grocery store or Canada Post, where you have to give them the money. It's like a gift card, but it says Visa on it, that you can make online purchases. Consider a secured credit card, where you actually have to pony up the money in order to get the card, very similar to that prepaid one. But the secured cards are usually through the bank or Capital One, and it will help you actually build your credit by having that secured one. Some other options: PayPal, e-transfers, gift cards, as well as cash. So Your next steps. Track your expenses. Try figuring out where you're spending your money. If you feel that you need a bit of help, take a look at our budgeting tool that we have on our website, or call us and do a budget with one of our counselors. Create a plan for your regular expenses, create an emergency fund, track and check obviously how you are doing, and then again visiting our website to see the budgeting tool as well as all our other tools that are on there as well. Hopefully now you can reflect on your money values and goals, understand how tracking helps you, manage your regular and emergency expenses, as well as create and organize your savings. Now, if you do want to follow us on social media, we are available there. You can call us or talk to us through there, see what kind of tips we're sharing as well. And if you do want to call us, you can certainly do that via the toll-free number that's up on the screen. And you can call us anytime, set up that appointment, and talk to one of the counselors. Now, I think I did talk obviously a little faster than probably normal, but I wanted to make sure that I tried sticking to the time frame that was allotted for me. Again, if you have questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my email in the chat box. And if you have questions for me, don't hesitate, email me, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. Or if you have questions now, please, by all means, ask away, and I'll be able to answer them. Another thing too, like I said, I'll send Nathan a copy of the presentation, so then he'll be able to forward it out to you guys. That way you have it as well. And again, you know, we have other options as well. So if you want to know more about credit, you know what, send me an email and say, Gary, I attended the budgeting workshop. I'd really like to know more about credit and what's happening. Can you forward me that those slides as well? I could do that. Okay. Sounds good. Any questions, comments? Any tips that you might not have heard of? Go ahead.
Gary, sorry, this is like
Yeah.
really helpful, and it's great to know how many resources we can access that are also like student specific. I just had a question for irregular expenses. I have 4 rescue pets, so they require 4 like insurances. So I've tried setting up like budgeting, and tried doing the plan for the year, but when I start saving or adding to that account, you know, my cat's insurance is already due. So in that type of scenario, is it just expected for me to be able to budget to have like a starting amount of money, or just use credit, or what would your suggestion be?
Yeah, I think for something like that, one of the key things that I've heard about pet insurance, and in no way am I saying don't do it, or whatever, but one thing that I've heard a lot is a lot of friends of mine have pets, and what they'll do, let's say instead of the insurance actually going through an insurance company, whatever they would be paying into the insurance, they would take that money and put it in a bank account specifically for the pets. But you might be asking, you know, a lot of times, like you're trying to put money in, but then stuff is due already before you've actually had time to put the money in. And that might come into play. Like if you get a lump sum of money, this is where, again, you might put a little extra to kind of give yourself a let's say a month buffer. Like let's say tax season right now, you get a lump sum of money. Well, yeah, I said before, the 40% towards debt, 40% towards savings, and then fun. Well, maybe you tweak those and add a 4th category there and say, you know what, I need to take 10% and put it aside for my rescues. That way I know that I have at least a month's supply to get going. That might be one option.
Yeah, that sounds great. It it might actually go really well with tax season. Thanks, Gary.
No problem. I think there was some questions in the chat. Where'd you find the budgeting tools? Your website? Yes, it is on our website. So mymoneycoach.ca is the website, and it's under the tools calculator section. That's where that is. Or you can also go to FCAC, which is the government website. So that's Financial Consumer Agency of Canada. And they have a budgeting tool on there as well. One of the things that I really like, one of their tools that they have is, let's say you're trying to figure out what credit card is best for you, or even what bank account is best for you. They have a tool on their website where you can go to it, enter the information that you want to attain. So let's say I want a bank account, but I want minimum 30 transactions, et cetera, et cetera. You put all that in, and then it will come up with all the banks in your area that offer those, and then tell you what the actual offers are. So check out the FCAC website. You just have to type that into Google, FCAC, and it'll pop up, and that's the government website. Okay. Any other questions? No, we're good. Thank you, Nathan. I'm really sorry that I was late. You know, technology, like I said, can be our friend sometimes. Sometimes it can't, but I'm glad that I was still able to do this and get it done.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to share this presentation with us. Like, I found it very helpful for myself personally. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're able to do that for us and everyone else here.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. And again, guys, really don't hesitate. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate. Email me, call us. We're happy to help. Okay?
So you'll send me that that document you were saying?
Yes, I will. I'll send that to you right away. As soon as I log off, I'll send you the link, as well as the links for FCAC and our budgeting tool. Make it easier.
Sounds good. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.